Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It is your boy, the Road Dog, here with none other than the man, the myth, the Mrs. Doubtfire lookalike, the best Robin Williams impersonator in all of Kettle Valley, Karl Bryan. Welcome to the show, Shoots.
How you doing, Shoots? Mrs. Doubtfire coming at you. That's it. And
it's, you know, the excuse of I can't get a haircut because of COVID, that expired about like a year ago, right? So I don't know what your excuse is. I'm sure if I know your wife at all, she's not looking at you and saying that looks really good. Like, no. Just don't hear her saying that. And maybe that's why you're doing it.
Beebs' wife loves it. My wife, not so much. But Beebs' wife, she's like, oh my God, I love your hair. So there you go.
There you go. All right, listen. Before we dive into any sort of new stuff here, last episode we were talking about leverage. I'm not sure if you remember that. But anyways, and I just want to kind of, what were the factors of production you talked about a long time ago, right? Where that information, the data over land and labor, I don't even know. You were kind of all over the map, but just that conversation in regards to leverage. I think there's a bunch of different types. Can you just dive into that a little bit again? Because I think that there's probably a few more nuggets of goodness inside of that.
It can. Yeah, you mean so factors of production, like land and labor, like back in the day, land and labor, and now it's data.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, maybe just last episode we were talking, there's 5 types of leverage. You got people, money, software, marketing, and knowledge. Maybe some quick examples. Most people think about leverage and they think about, buying a house, and then they put, $200,000 down and get $1 million house, or put $100,000 down and get a $500,000 house. So that's leverage, right? You use $100,000 cash, get a $500,000 house. So that'd be leverage. YouTube, you put one video on YouTube and it could be watched 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million times, that same video. Or CRM might be a better example. Like you put together, you get one email address and you could send that one email address, literally, hundreds of emails, and they could be templated or personalized, but that, leverage, like 100,000 people roughly get my my daily email. Again, the platform provides massive leverage. This provides leverage. Maybe, I don't know if we talked about this, but like Bees, we get a mutual bud, owns a trucking company. And like the real play in trucking is the software. Like Amazon, you may or may not know, but Amazon had gone heavy into delivery of this. Not only do they have planes, but they now have got trucks driving around, dropping off, all of the goodies, right? So they don't have to rely on DHL or FedEx, etc. Without knowing anything about that business, I can tell you that it is a software play all day long and twice on Sunday. The same way, conversation with Beebs is around, look, is he, expanding his trucking company and trying to find, different way, filling his trucks and, having more pickups and basically being able to increase the margin that he can make on each route, right? Like you could imagine if you've got a truck that's half full, you're missing out on some massive margin by filling the rest of the truck, right? Well, in order to do that, that sounds good. You got to be, you don't want to be dropping the wrong stuff off at you don't want to be dropping the wrong stuff off at Costco and the wrong stuff off at Walmart. Next thing you know, you're going to be out of an account. So in order to manage multiple pickups, software would be the magic pill. Okay. So that would again be you using software for leverage. Importantly, knowledge is leverage. Warren Buffett will tell you that insights can change everything, and I mean everything. The trick is that sounds good. The trick is to be able to come up with the quote unquote insight. I just spent a week with my dad, a big, poker player. He loves poker still. He's hammering away playing poker tournaments, and, wakes up in the morning and plays poker. It's kind of funny. But, he's 80 years old and that's his shtick, right? But think about, okay, so poker used to be a game played by guys in, think downstairs, lights dimmed, kind of hiding from the police, quite frankly, decades ago. And then today it's on TV. Okay, what's the distinction from taking it from downstairs, lights dark, to TV? And somebody came up with the idea of putting two pieces of plexiglass, two pieces of glass on the table. So they put a camera underneath so you could see the cards, and it literally took it from a sport played around a table to a TV sport that people could watch without the plexiglass, without the glass, without the ability to see the cards. TVs, nobody's going to watch a TV, staring at five cards overturned on the table, right? Like that's not, as in the ones you couldn't see. It's not going to happen. So that would be an example of an insight. That would be an example of knowledge being leveraged. Think insight. I've said this many a times, but Warren Buffett, he reads for 80% of the day. So what is he actually doing? He's looking for insights, right? So anyway, and then there's of course people, people's time and expertise can be leveraged, right? But then if you're leveraging people's time for a cleaning company or a moving company, a concrete company, those are lower end activities, so you don't have as much leverage as if you do as somebody is, requires a degree. Like higher level employees will be significantly more reliable. Also, there's a challenge with leveraging those. Might not go down that rabbit hole today, but no doubt you could see that. Look, people, I just want to make sure that you're understanding. Last week we talked about leverage, and those are examples of. And I would be encouraging you to be thinking about those, and then also thinking about those with your client, because I don't need to sit down with a chiropractor, the dentist, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, and know that they are not sitting there thinking about leverage, right? They are, stuck in the forest, staring at the tree, missing, the forest entirely. So I think that those are good things to be thinking about. But Road Dog, to answer your point, so so back in the day, basically land, physical labor, and capital were like the quote unquote factors of production. And then today, so that's like back in the day, right? And then like today, information. Okay, so think data. It's data is the world's number one commodity by a million miles, right? So information. Two is reach/distribution. Think of the YouTube video. It's one thing to put a YouTube video up, but are you going to get, one person to see it, or are you going to get a million people to see it? Well, the reach, distribution, your ability to get distribution is the magic pill. And then three would be computing power, right? So like kids are going off to college to spend 50 to 200 grand, or, plus, whatever they're spending, but Lord knows, what it could cost. But in a lot of cases, they're spending 50 grand to learn an antiquated system still based on land, physical labor, and capital. And it's like kind of scary if you really think about it, right? Like there's almost nothing that can't be learned online for a small investment. Like you want to become a coder, you want to code software, you could go teach yourself online for a very small investment. You just need to teach yourself and you need to be dialed in, but you can absolutely do it. Copywriting, all kinds of like legit copywriting courses, not from the influencer trying to tip you upside down and make as much as they possibly can out of you, but legitimately learn copy for a nominal amount, right? Website design, you could learn how to build websites so easily online. There's absolutely no reason, to go to school for something like that. Landscaping, anything mechanical, you could find on YouTube. Just so many things that you could learn, by not going to school. That being said, I think there's a massive social component to it. But generally speaking, do you need to spend 50, 100, 200 grand spend 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years in school. In some cases, yes, but in many cases, no. Certainly, entrepreneurship, there's absolutely zero reason to have to learn that from school. Again, the social aspect of it and the networking aspect of it, different. But I think there's other ways to get that you wouldn't have to pay. So like, I'm just thinking of where like logical questions that you might want to be asking yourself after realizing like the new factors of production. Again, information, reach / distribution, and computing power. Like, are you going to collect data? And it's one thing to collect the data, but if so, what power does it have? How are you going to utilize it? Like, we've hired a data scientist recently, and basically for that exact reason, he's turning things upside down and providing us all kinds of, graphs and explanation for things that, quite frankly, just went something they went over my head. They just went straight past me because we just weren't looking at them, right? When you really start looking at numbers, it can be amazing what you could learn, right? Or maybe let's dummy this down and, thinking data scientists might be a little, you know, off topic, but like think JVs and complementary services, right? How are you going to get reach / distribution? When DoorDash was getting started, they gave away 1,000,000 1-cent Big Macs. So think about that. They got 1,000,000 new accounts set up on DoorDash, and then McDonald's got a 1,000,000 users that got a Big Mac delivered to their door. Basically using that, like getting McDonald's delivered is not something that's been happening in the past, right? They do the drive-through, you walk in there. That's been McDonald's play, right? Well, they want to adjust that. It's a genius strategy. And again, DoorDash got 1,000,000 downloads, and McDonald's got 1,000,000 people experiencing the McDonald's getting delivered. Because a big concern that you might have is that McDonald's getting delivered, the burger's going to be cold, right? Well, guess what? It shows up and it tastes like a Big Mac straight over the counter. Well, you have a good experience. You're going to continue to order from them. And by the way, that's exactly what's happened, right? McDonald's is becoming more and more popular through delivery. And let me tell you, computing power, if anybody were to be worried, like that's just not a problem, right? Like Google Calendar was built with satellites all over the world, right? We all carry like a NASA level computer in our pocket. So yeah, just look, factors of production, information, reach / distribution, computing power. There is no money in what's easy. Is when I say that, if it feels like that's a little bit on the high, you know what I mean, the higher end, you got to kill some brain cells to really understand, what that might mean for you, for your client, for the accountant, etc. Like getting a JV with the accountant is hard, but it's worth it. Right? Like one accountant, one magazine, one blog, one chamber, one business broker, one promotional company selling mugs, t-shirts, and pens, one networking group like BNI, and a successful local operator getting people together for, coffee in the morning, one advertising medium like a coupon book or a signage company, or the billboard company. When you drive up the highway and see all those billboards, like that company and the person selling advertising for that company, one person could literally send you more coaching clients than you can handle. You got 21-to-1 coaching clients, you are flat out. Well, one of those people, the accountant with 400 clients, could send you 50 to 100 clients per year. And they probably won't, by the way. And that's not on them, that's on you, because do you have a system in place to motivate them, to facilitate the referrals, to handle the business as they send you the referrals so that you can keep taking the business, or do you need to put a governor on it? So that's something to think about. Like most people go to the accountant and say, send me people. The accountant doesn't send people, and they get frustrated and kind of throw in the towel, right? Road Dog, and you've seen that 1,000 times. I've seen that 1,000 times. Like it's hard, but it's so worth it. People just give up too easy. So, but forget all that. Yes. So factors of production, again, thinking land, physical labor, and capital. That's just where your client's mind is at, by the way. It's just not like, look, information, Road Dog. In closing, is your client building a database? And the answer to that is probably no. And if they are building a database, are they utilizing CRM software and following up with them properly? And the answer to that is, probably no. I'm going to put 80%, but it's probably closer to 90% plus. So that would be an example. They're not they're not making these these types of adjustments. And then the reach distribution, the more email addresses they build up and the more contacts they build up, the more people that they're able to distribute their, their education to, their offers to. Anyway, so that's Road Dog. That's what I got. Is that what do you think? Is that what you're looking for?
It got me thinking two different things. One is I actually put up a post last week, I think, and it was talking about Hermosi made some sort of comment of how everybody's basically going straight for the sale and no one's actually looking at the long-term plays, right? Like just exactly what we just talked about. Like there is nothing more powerful than a list, period. Right? Like if you have a list, you can make money on demand. And if you aren't growing that, like I get it. Like, yeah, there's always a need for that quick sales funnel, but there's also something to be said about playing the long game and building that list. And I just don't think there's enough people taking that game seriously. So,
last week, my email, one of my daily emails was that, that there is over 500,000 searches every month for how to delete my Facebook account. And then how many people do we both know that their entire business is built on the platform of Facebook?
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, right? And that's just it. People need to be able to pivot. They need to own their data and their information, and that's an issue. So, but yeah. Anyways, there it is. The other thing that struck me, we were talking about DoorDash, and obviously we're heading into an interesting time, I would say. I just think with inflation being where it is, all of this. It's funny, right? This quiet quitting. You heard about this quiet quitting thing? Didn't we just used to call that coasting?
Yeah.
Didn't that what we used to call it? Anyways, leave it to the millennials to try and steal something else from us and make it their own hashtag. Anywho, I just love crapping on somebody every week, bud. This has to happen. Anyways, so but with that all being said, I just think economically, I think we're in for some pretty interesting times. So I'm just wondering your thoughts, like what industries or what jobs do you see going away in the next few years?
Industries
or jobs.
It wasn't that long ago that we went into the bank to do banking on a Friday and there was like a monster lineup, right? Now we get pissed off if we actually have to go into the bank, right? And then they got drive through. And another thing comes to mind, like Facebook. Remember when Facebook used to be for kids, and now approximately 10 years later, it's for grandparents, right? That's what all the kids.
This is coming from the guy who also keeps telling me TikTok is for kids. Just throwing that out there. Anyways,
I didn't actually say that, but I did. Yeah, TikTok, whatever, TikTok. So but time marches on, and these things become obsolete quick. So I think, again, we're going to see that accelerating. What kind of like waiters, cashiers, bartenders, look, they're going to be robots. And by the way, you're going to like it. You go to the local, you go to the pharmacy, you go wherever now, whatever, you go to the grocery store, and now you got your self-checkout, again, becoming more and more and more popular. I was just at the airport yesterday, and again, I'm basically filling out my form, and I'm clearing customs and that sort of thing again, and that's a very digital kind of process. So that again, so like, because I say that, Road Dog, because we say waiters, cashiers, and bartenders are going to become robots. Like, oh no way! Like, oh my gosh, that's like another planet. It's going to happen, and you're going to like it. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely. Think newspapers, publishing. Magazines, they're all going to blogs, right? They don't go into blogs. They're going to a hybrid of, travel agents. Again, realistically, I mean, they're still going to be there for the high end stuff. But I mean, that ship sailed. I mean, that's, everybody's doing everything on Expedia. I mean, my wife, she can pump out, travel plans. You know what I mean? She can just pump anything out there real quick. Manufacturing workers, again, getting things from, I just picture like Amazon's warehouse, like, you need, a particular, thing, whatever it might be, a box of screws comes to mind, but like a box of screws, and like, it's got a Delio. What's it got? It's got like a bar. What am I trying to say? It's got like the barcode, right? And like a robot's going to do that, right? And then it's going to have like a go-go gadget arm, and you're not going to have these, the forklift and whatnot to get up nice and high and to pick things. So that road dog, tax truck drivers. We've got a buddy who's got a trucking company, again, self-driving vehicles all day long, twice on Sunday. And by the way, the roads are going to be 100 times safer. People get nervous. They go, oh my God, computers driving. I'd way prefer a computer to be driving down the highway than the guy half asleep, right? Certainly the guy with a possible drug or alcohol habit on snowy roads. But anyway, so those types of things, copywriting, maybe in our world, like, copywriting is now being farmed out to AI. It's not that good just yet, but probably better than you'd think if you're not in that world. But at the same time, it's not quite there. I've noticed like Gmail is getting significantly better with predictive text, and the way that I, shoot things out. It picks up my language patterns. Said, and the way that works, like machine learning versus AI. Like we've got our guys kind of studying this right now, and like, so artificial intelligence, what like machine learning and an AI. A lot of people don't understand. They think it's the same thing, or they think it's categorically different. The way that AI works is that artificial intelligence will never be dumber than it is on day one. And then the machine learning comes in and then it learns your patterns. So like if my emails have significantly better predictive text, it's because the machine learning has been watching my patterns, the way I phrase things and whatnot. So it's getting smarter and smarter and smarter. So then the AI can kick in. So the machine learning educates the AI so that the AI works significantly better. So the more it's like, when you turn on Netflix, right? And then you watch a certain style of show and then it starts recommending shows for you. On day one, it's stupid. And then it gets smart every time you watch a movie and then watch it to the end or turn it off 10 minutes in. Like it's learning. And then that makes the artificial intelligence significantly smarter. So artificial intelligence, just think algorithms and, like insanely quick math equations, and the way they do it is machine learning teaches the artificial intelligence, so the artificial intelligence takes over. So anyway, so that's machine learning versus AI. But those types of things, I give you that because as you're thinking about the way that works, machine learning and then AI, think of copywriting. Okay, given what I just said, do you think copywriting might get a little bit better, 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 a little bit better? And the answer is absolutely, right? But it's going to take some time because the machine needs to learn more. And I don't know that that's a perfect. In fact, that's definitely not a perfect black and white, but that's what comes to mind. So yeah, those are the types of industries. But just low end staff. Drivers, bartenders, cashiers, waiters, tellers, these types of things are going by the wayside. And you're seeing it right now as you go to buy groceries and you self-check yourself out. And then what you realize is, holy cow, that was actually a pretty good experience, right? And that you accidentally don't put something in, or you put something in the bag and it wasn't scanned. And what happens? Like, hey, get that back up here. Like, how the heck did they know, right? But it's pretty damn good. That's why. Anyways, shoots. I don't know.
I just got to say, like, I can't even imagine Karl Bryan walking into the grocery store and somebody going, oh, you got to do the self-checkout. And you're probably thinking it's just a bunch of mirrors where you get to look at yourself. That's probably what you thought it was. So you must have been
what are you talking about?
Pretty disappointed. Listen, if it's one thing I do know about you, you're going to be pretty pissed. If you go into Hooters and there's a robot that's serving you, I know you're going to be pretty disappointed. That is for sure.
That would change the experience dramatically.
It definitely would do that. Speaking of, though, it's completely unrelated, but self-checkout related, and not in a mirror kind of a way. What's interesting is, isn't the Amazon, I think in Seattle, they're doing it where there's not even a self-checkout anymore. Like you literally
you just grab it
in your bag and you walk out the door and it just dings your card and off you go.
But it's already happening, mate. Absolutely. Yes. what's the company that Amazon bought? Is it Whole Foods? Is that it? The
I think
health.
so. Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
so yeah, it's oh, buddy, that's absolutely that's right. You just take it off the shelf, put it in your dealio, and ding, 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 your credit card's getting hit. And if you put it back, it just reverses it. Like it's
Well,
like,
and this is it, right? So if you're still thinking self checkout, you're behind the game.
yeah,
It's already going well beyond that. It's sort of like, well, it's like a local startup that I'm working with here for you know, like it's a calendar, but it's got an algorithm built into it. So
yeah,
real quick, just to give everyone the example. So this guy, they bought an irrigation company, and obviously, if you're anywhere in the northern states or in Canada, every fall, guess what you got to do? You got to blow out your sprinkler system. Well, these guys are like, oh shoot, I got 700 of these blowouts we got to get done, and we got to do this in like 30 days. So they're like, okay, well, we got to create something which the algorithm will automatically place the closest appointment next on their calendar, and it continues to reroute and update based on new appointments coming in. Like it's just brilliant.
cool. That's
So
like a
anyway,
calendar with geofencing. Then, so what that is?
yeah, 100%. But they just keep adding more and more to it, which is it's pretty wild because it's sort of almost like an open loop, right? Because if somebody says, "Yeah, I just need somebody to come in the afternoon," and now somebody else books in, it'll kind of autocorrect and then redo your entire schedule. And now you can imagine with rising fuel costs and everything else how
Yeah,
efficient this is, right? It's unbelievable. But back to your point of waitresses and stuff like that, I may joke around, but with the labor shortage and everything else that's happening now, holy smokes, that stuff can't come soon enough
yeah.
because it's super frustrating no matter where you are if you're traveling or doing whatever. But all that being said, let's go the opposite way. Are there any sort of non-obvious, because I know I like to call you Captain Obvious, but are there any non-obvious industries that you see going away?
Um, non-obvious industries. Well, low level, you know this world, right? Like low level financial managers and wealth managers, right? That's kind of already been taken over from things like, Robinhood, which kind of gamified the whole trading experience, which I'm not a huge fan of, but that's all good. But that'll be done with software and AI. The high level stuff needs personal relationships, right? But the lower stuff is going bye bye. Days of 3 cars per family are a memory, and then therefore that's going to affect the car wash. Going to affect gas stations at every corner. Just don't see that happening. In prime real estate. Don't see that happening. Um, I don't know if this is college sports in the USA. I see college going, when I say bye bye, it's not going bye bye, but it'll be an 80-20 thing, right? Where 20 will stand and 80 will fall over. And what'll break the camel's back is a rival league because the money that they make out of sports, in collegiate sport, right, run the universities to a very, very high degree. Like none of those guys or gals get paid. And think of, you get 20, 50, in some cases 100,000 people watching a football game, a basketball game, or football game. There's some money being exchanged, right? Jerseys and everything else. So a rival league for, let's call it 18 to 25-year-olds. We have that, in hockey. And that's why in Canada, it's called the CHL, the Canadian Hockey League. And then we have, 5 leagues, I believe it is, across Canada, like the WHL, the OHL, what's called the Q, right? So that's the Quebec League and the Maritimes. But anyway, so it's all broken up so that, like there's divisions, built, in geography, because again, you don't want everybody to having to be traveling. They don't use planes, right? They travel by bus, so they don't want too much travel. So they make a ton of money. So that I see. So the rival league, look out. Phone company. Actually, I remember we talked about this a while back. But like phone companies, do you really need a phone number nowadays? And you do, but with Skype, like the amount of time that I spend nowadays, Skype, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, calling on, audio or whatever on Facebook Messenger, doing video on Facebook Messenger, of course, Zoom. It's crazy, right? Um, so that, movie theaters, look, rapid decline. I look, Top Gun crushed it, right? I think the Elvis movie, which by the way, I've seen it a couple times, and I thought it was pretty cool, pretty cool. And I didn't know the story. Pretty sad, quite frankly. But like, no one's going back to the theater, I don't think. And the real estate required to make it work. I mean, that's what happened to the drive-in, right? It was just difficult. So that I just don't see that um, being the same. I mean, cable TV. I don't know that that's not the Captain Obvious one, because that's already on the decline hardcore. Like my 9-year-old daughter, I'm watching a football game, I'm watching a baseball game, I'm watching a hockey game, and she's like, "Is that live?" Right? Like YouTube and subscription services like Netflix, Disney, Amazon Prime. They're just like taking the Super Bowl will be on Amazon Prime. My opinion, and people smarter than me could give you the answer to this, but the Super Bowl will be on Amazon Prime at some stage. That's my belief, right? Retailers with basically like retailers are showrooms for Amazon, right? Like if you want to make a retail experience work, you have to create an experience, right? So like imagine if you had a hockey shop, I could come in and I could use the sticks. I could try on the skates. You'd have like a mini hockey rink in there that my kid or I could jump on and kind of wheel around a little bit and experiment. Skateboarding, having like a ramp. Of course, there's insurance issues with that, but like the idea of being able to go in and experience it, skis, that kind of thing, think simulators. So if you want to be able to compete in retail, you're going to have to create an experience, because people are just going, very quickly towards, let's say that they're going towards buying online would be like, that ship's already sailed, right? But it's becoming more and more popular. But it's very common for people to go into the retailer and then basically go to Amazon and then buy it, or, Zappos. Even like traditional journalists, like we've got a magazine, right? Working on some stuff behind the scenes on that to jack it up. But like, traditional journalists working for the newspaper, for the magazine, for the, for the TV station, just they're becoming entrepreneurs, right? And they're marketing themselves and they're selling their stories, right? And the better they are at presenting the story, creating the story, filming the story, putting together, something that's interesting. Again, the secret to a story is always conflict. Every episode of Seinfeld, Friends, Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, whatever, the central theme is conflict, always, right? Well, the better the reporter is at creating that conflict, creating the story, the more interesting their stories are going to be, the more people are going to watch the news, right? Like, so that's how again, the ship sail. I mean, this is happening, right? Bezos bought the Washington Post for influence, not for money, right? I get a magazine. We're not running around. Not that we shouldn't, and not that we won't, but we're not running around selling ads. It's spent well over $500,000 to date building up the magazine. But it's not. I'll give you the red hot tip, right? It's not about selling $100 subscription. It's an adjustment in approach and psychology. It's long ball play versus short term play, right? Thinking 10 years ahead instead of 90 days from today, which sounds obvious, but frankly, the average entrepreneur, that's the biggest liability, the average business owner. And Road Dog, I know you share that thought because we've talked about it lots. Like they're just thinking in 90 days is like a long time for them, right? Bezos is thinking, he's thinking 10 years, and again, he's retired, but it's not that he doesn't have a very heavy hand at Amazon still, but again, he's just a decade guy, as is Musk, as is Warren Buffett, as is Charlie Munger, as is Ray Dalio, all the greats. When something that's very rare, is old and rich, okay, and somebody is old and rich, you should listen to what they have to say, because they know what they're doing. So that's, what am I saying? Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett and Ray Dalio possibly would be a better person to listen to than maybe an Elon Musk. Which, by the way, I think that Elon Musk has I think that there's things that Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett just don't get, like crypto as an example. You know what I mean? So I think that there's a balance there. So don't take that as black and white, but old and rich is very rare. When somebody is old and somebody is rich, you should listen. Politics, the reality is Trump, love him, hate him, he got elected because of what he did on Twitter, right? So a 35-year-old will market himself into the position of president of the United States of America, in my opinion, in the not too distant future. And by the way, on that note, maybe relevant, I actually had a conversation with my dad and a bunch of his buds just literally not yesterday, but the day before. But I was just saying, like, we're talking politics, and of course, it's always a very, politics with, some folks that are, 60, 70, and 80 years old, possibly not the best topic, right? And go really sideways really quick with differing views. But I'll just tell you this. What I explained is that I believe that crypto will be the next big party. Like, how the Greens, I believe that crypto will be a party, and I think that it will take shape and it will gain some serious steam once it gets going. And remember, when I say crypto, don't think Bitcoin. Bitcoin's got exactly zero utility, and Bitcoin could go to zero in 2 seconds, right? Crypto is blockchain, right? Like, I wrote about this literally 5-6 years ago. You can Google my name and crypto, or my name and Bitcoin, or my name and blockchain, and you're going to see that I wrote about. I said, what do business coaches need to know about Bitcoin, or something to that effect, right? It was sexy title, and then I basically talked about blockchain for the entire thing, right? So when I say crypto, don't be thinking Bitcoin. Be thinking, the platform that Bitcoin is. Without blockchain, there is no Bitcoin, and hopefully you know that. But if that is news to you, this is a topic that you should probably delve into a little bit so that you understand. Because I believe that you should understand this stuff at a 30,000-foot vantage point to know what's coming. Because blockchain is going to change things in a very real, very tangible way. And that being said, like NFTs, NFTs right now, like, they're replacing, hockey cards that I used to trade back in the day, and you did, Road Dog, right? Baseball cards, basketball cards, like, they're being replaced with moments, right? It's like an NFT. NFT with utility is going to replace all kinds of stuff, like golf memberships and masterminds. An NFT with utility, we talked about that maybe a week or two ago. I really believe is, again, just it's the future, and it's like the hockey stick growth, Road Dog, right? Like, you're talking about, like, I'm talking about doing, a self checkout, and then you're talking about walking around the store with a grocery cart and then just literally exiting, and not talking to anybody, not doing anything. So that's like hockey stick growth. That's the way these things, once they start to take shape, that's how they take over. That's how quickly, we're going to bypass basically the checkout, and we're going to go straight to just pick up your stuff, throw it in the bag, and walk out the store. You've got your credit card on file. Bingo, bango, bungo. It's over. But that's hockey stats. That is compounding at its finest, right there, right? Anyways, look, maybe actually I just might do this, Road. Like, let me just explain real quick for somebody who doesn't understand blockchain. Here's the way I explained it to a table full of 60, 70, 80-year-olds, right? So MLS. Okay, so if you've ever bought a piece of real estate, I can tell you whatever I want about my real estate and how much it's worth, how much I bought it for, and how much it's worth today, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The truth is that you could go to MLS and you could see exactly what I bought it for the day that I bought it. You can see exactly what I still owe on it. You can see the person that bought it before me. And you know what I mean? Like, the MLS, like, it's not blockchain, but it effectively is, right? Where the transparency, because what would happen if it was like the wild, wild west, a really good realtor can convince you to spend, $1 million house, or spend $1 million on a $550,000 house because they're a kick-ass salesperson, right? That would be a problem, right? So the blockchain, the MLS, the transparency stops that from happening. It's very important that it's regulated, right? Well, think of blockchain as the same of that, but for other industries, right? So like, if you owned a magazine, and let's say that it came out every Friday, and then the back page sold for 10 grand, but if you didn't have it sold on Friday afternoon, guess what? That bad boy could go for 2 grand. Well, if I spent 10 grand last week and somebody else was selling, buying it for 2 grand this week, I wouldn't be very happy about that. Well, imagine how that would change if the advertising prices were on the blockchain, and then think of how Google does it and Facebook does it, right? With like an auctioning kind of process, where you can see total transparency. You can go see, how much somebody's spending on ads. It's right there. Similar kind of transparency. And if you are not happy with transparency, what does that say about your business? And if you are happy with the transparency, what does that say? Who do you want to deal with? Do you want to deal with people that are going to be transparent? Do you want to deal with people that are going to be the opposite? So the MLS is so that's blockchain, right? Where the transparency and then fractional ownership is something that's going to come thick and fast. Like, do you need to own your own airplane? The answer is probably not, unless you're doing an insane amount of traveling. But what if you and 9 other people, 10 of you owned an airplane and you did an average amount, but you just don't, well, you want to walk, to the airport 10 minutes before, walk on the plane, have the thing started when you get on, you walk on, with your family, and then you're at your destination, you get off and you walk out. Like, does that sound like a slightly better experience than getting strip searched and taking off your shoes and pulling out your laptop? That sound like a slightly better experience? Well, that might be it. Do you need to own the house on the hill with the ocean view in Mexico? And the answer is maybe, but probably not on your own. But what if you and 3 other families used it, and and again, it was on the blockchain and everything was, like fractional ownership. That's an example of what's going to be coming thick and fast. So anyway, so that's the way that I would explain it. So I think that there's a lot of changes going in that. So business coaches, as we're, thinking about these things, and industries going away, and, trends, what we're really talking about here, Road Dog, are trends, right? Trends are your friends if you like the idea of making gobs of money. Google is not a $1 trillion company because they're really smart guys that went to a good school. They get a $1 trillion company because of something called a trend, right? Facebook is not Facebook because Zuckerberg went to Harvard. Zuckerberg is, worth what he's worth, and Facebook's worth what it's worth because of trend. So trends are your friends if you like the idea of making a lot of money and you want to help your clients making a lot of money. Well, you should keep one eye. Should you go all in? I mean, we talked about this a while back. It was probably 6 months ago, but these companies that were going all in on, like Tesla, what were they doing? They were accepting Bitcoin. Are they accepting Bitcoin today? No, right? Like, so those guys that went all in on their companies and were doing everything NFT, everything crypto, etc. How are they looking now when Bitcoin, went from 60,000 down to 20 grand in record time, and a little bit wobbly at 20 grand, frankly. And do I believe that it will go up? Yes, I do. I believe that Bitcoin is not going to zero. But that being said, I don't know. Warren Buffett don't know. The smartest guy in your Facebook feed that pretends like he knows, driving his McLaren, he don't know either. But anyway, but crypto, don't think of Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin. If you want to see Bitcoin go somewhere, it needs utility. It's got to have some utility behind it. And presently, it's got exactly zero. And that you couldn't go buy a chocolate bar with Bitcoin right now. That's not a good thing. Anyway, so I don't know, Road Dog. Those are just different. I think that business coaches should be understanding the high level concepts and where it's going, because you got to be able to direct your client in a macro way. Do you do this today, tomorrow, next week, and all? Is this monopolize your conversations with your chiropractor? Absolutely not. But being able to explain these types of things, by the way, will absolutely get you an insane amount of coaching clients because they're gonna be like, wow, this guy, this gal is really on point. They really get this stuff. When you can explain something complicated in a very matter of fact ABC 1, 2, 3 way, especially a high level concept, which let's assume that crypto is a high level concept. Just watch what happens to your conversions. They will go up. So I would encourage, and by the way, it's very important too, right? To understand that this is where things are going. I think it's important. So there you go, Road Dog. That's all I got to say about that. But industries that I see, kind of non-obvious ones disappearing, went off a rabbit hole.
I was wondering what we're even talking about, and here we are. You realize, bud, when you're at a security line in the airport, you like when they say step forward, like you don't have to drop your pants, right? Like you just walk through. Like, I don't know, when you're talking strip search at the airport, I don't know what airport you're at, but that's not how they do it, bud.
Wasn't I? I didn't need to. I don't need to go through the thing in my underwear. Is that why?
No, well, I'm thankful you at least had that on. But hey, by the way, trends.google.com. You're welcome. Just go check that out. It's if anyone's like who's better than seeing what's trending, and I don't know, Google might be a good starting point. Your thing on the old wisdom thing, it always reminds me of, I don't even know, was it Buffett that said it? But it's like, would you rather listen to Warren Buffett or would you rather listen to an analyst? Like, I don't see too many analysts out there that are, I don't know, rich. Whereas, like a lot of these investors are, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it makes me laugh. So, anyways, there you go. So, do you want to close us out with one thing on point that someone could take from the podcast today and implement into their business?
On point, Shoots. I think just the 30,000 foot vantage point. And maybe what I said at the end there, like, again, practice. I'm going to challenge the business coaches. This is a Chet Holmes 101 thing. To Chet Holmes, he was in business with Tony Robbins, very smart guy, passed away long before his time. Loved the guy, love his material. Didn't know them at all, but loved his material. And he talked about, as part of if he were to put together a presentation, let's assume it's a 1 hour presentation, he would take a percentage of that time, and let's call that 10 minutes. This said, I don't know that he said that, but like a percentage. So 10 minutes would be 10% of the, actually that wouldn't be quite, whatever. Take 10 to 20% of your presentation. And this is a 1-to-1 sales meeting he's talking about, and talk about high level industry concepts, trends. And again, I'm throwing, this is not his exact words by any stretch, but that's, what he's talking about is talk about. So in other words, example, Chet Holmes said, spend 10 to 20% of your time talking about high level industry concepts. So if you were to agree with that, an example, I think, would be explaining crypto, would be explaining that crypto is not crypto, but crypto is really, think blockchain, which is the platform the whole thing is built off of. So anyways, finding high level concepts, and maybe what we talked about with trends, and there's a zillion others that you can, depend upon what industry, but talk about, come up with clever things that you're going to talk about that are high level industry concepts. Again, crypto, artificial intelligence, blockchain, etc., and come up with a clever way of talking about them in a strategic, like not in a out of left field and like blow the guy away, right? And again, don't spend a huge amount of time there because you got more important things to talk about and to get granular, but on a macro level, come up with clever ways of explaining these things. And I think you're going to find in your presentations, in your one-to-ones, in your meeting with the accountant trying to get a joint venture, in your meeting with the referral that you're trying to close. And, if you could close somebody in 30 minutes instead of an hour and a half, how would that affect your life? Remember, again, that's, it's not what you say, it's what they hear. That's important, right? And the manner in which you say something really, really matters. Your tonality, your speed. 7% of communication is the words, right? 93% is the other stuff. So, thinking about that strategically. Bottom line, come up with some high level concepts and practice telling stories around it and explaining these things in a real easy 1, 2, 3 ABC granular kind of way that they can follow, and see what happens and see how it feels. And I think you might be rewarded well. So that's my one thing, Shoots.
I'll give you my one thing. I just looked at what the number one in Canada, the number thing that was Googled under what, when you start with what? What
Yep.
is Squid Game? That was the number one in 2021 in Canada. So there you are, Shoots. That's it. Of all the things you could have Googled, what is Squid Game? Anyways, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with none other than the man, the myth, the Mrs. Doubtfire himself, King Karl. And if you're not on the inside getting asked the pre-show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, or you want more information on the group coaching software, the profit acceleration software, or what other softwares Karl's got in the works, maybe there's more, maybe there's not. You'll have to go to focus.com to find out and subscribe today. And if you enjoyed the podcast, obviously please share it. And of course, as always, we'd appreciate if you'd rate the episode, as we know that all the streaming service give a big, big weight towards that. And you know what? We're trying to get to number one. So let's go ahead and make that happen. And that is it for another week. We'll see you in the next episode. And as always, folks, remember, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at Focused.com.